Hello, everyone. This is Leslie Fuller with Inspired Dementia Care. I have created this series of videos to help my viewers feel more confident and empowered in their support of those who are living with dementia, whether it be a family member that you're supporting, a friend, or whether you work in a community environment. I want to plant some seeds in you, some seeds of hope, of encouragement, of patience, and of love for those that you're working with. So today's topic is going to be, get this, about sex. So we're going to be talking about sexuality today, and intimacy and aging and dementia. So a few truths that I think we all need to know. Sexuality does continue through aging. Not everyone continues being a sexual being, but many do. It's a natural part of our human nature. I worked in a community setting at one time. I'll talk about them a lot. It was a very large community. It was independent living, had about 325 people. So I saw a lot in my 6.5 years there. It was the best job ever. But I had a gentleman who lived there who was 90 years old, and he was quite the ladies' man. And his sexual nature continued long into his age. So when people think that sexuality leaves us just because we age, that is a myth. So the truth is that those who develop dementia of some sort, whether it be Alzheimer's, frontotemporal lobe dementia, frontotemporal dementia, vascular dementia, whatever it is, just because they develop dementia does not mean that that is not there, that sexual nature isn't still there. And let's talk even more, not just sexual, but the need for affection, the need for touch, the need for physical connection with other people. That doesn't go away. So we need to think about that when we're helping people, because sometimes people tend to think that somebody who has dementia, who is exhibiting, let's say, touching, what people see as inappropriate touching or kissing or fondling or taking their clothes off. A lot of these, if you think about all that, it's just on the spectrum of what affection and intimacy and sexuality, it's kind of all jumbled together, right? It depends on where you are in your life as to where those stages are. So when we're teenagers, hopefully holding hands is how we exhibit maybe the first steps of intimacy. As we develop relationships, kissing, hugging, just even cuddling, just sitting on the couch holding somebody else, having that physical connection. And of course, there's sexuality that goes with that too. There's also self-pleasure. Let's be honest, that's a part of many people's lives. However, when we're trying to support somebody who has dementia and we see those things, a lot of people don't know how to handle it because they think, oh, this is inappropriate. But if you have someone who just wants intimacy, but in their mind, hand-holding, kissing, sex, grabbing somebody's breast, it's kind of just all in the same pot to them. When they do something like grab somebody or fondle somebody, they're not, please don't ever label somebody, well, he's just a dirty old man, right? It's not that. It is their need. They have a need to fill, and it may just be a need for affection. So let me look at my notes here for a second. So behaviors that may seem sexual in nature to the general public: kissing, holding hands, we've talked about that, touching, exposing themselves, disrobing, getting undressed. When you see this, instead of, first and foremost, please don't shame them. In their mind, they're not doing anything other than what naturally they're feeling a sense to fulfill a need, and they're not quite sure how to do it. And their brain has change going on in it, right? There are parts of their brains that aren't functioning the way they used to, so they don't have that logic. The frontal lobe is not functioning in their processing or their filter. The filter is kind of gone. They lose their sense of what's publicly acceptable and what's not. So, with all of those factors going on, they may exhibit a thought they're having in a way that is different than you and I would. So, we need to look at and really assess what is the situation that's going on. So, let's see, we need to ask ourselves during their day, during their life, in their home setting, wherever they're living, how much one-on-one attention are they getting? Are they receiving somebody holding their hand, receiving hugs, receiving a kiss on the cheek, even or if they're living with their spouse, are they receiving a kiss on the lips, right? Is this something that they've had throughout their life, but maybe they're not getting as much of it? With COVID, that's making it even more difficult to have that physical connection. So ask yourself, are they receiving that? Are we having friendship? Do they get someone who genuinely sits with them, makes eye-to-eye contact, has a smile with them, genuinely says, "It is so good to see you today," that's showing them some human connection and genuine friendship, compassion, that's intimacy, right? Intimacy isn't just physical touch, it's human connection. So are they receiving that? They may just be lacking that. Verbal attention, compliments, sing some love songs, play some romantic music, dance in the kitchen with them, finding ways to fulfill some of that in their day. They may just be seeking ways to have that experience, and the ways that they're seeking seem to be inappropriate to those that are viewing them. Okay. If you have someone who is touching themselves, okay. I worked in community setting in a memory care community, and a staff member would come in and say, "Mr. Jones is masturbating," right? Well, number one, first of all, we need to determine, is he really, or does he have an itch? Does he have to go to the restroom? Does he have a UTI? So he's got discomfort somehow. Does he just need to be taken to the restroom and have his briefs changed? There are lots of things that action can be a symptom of that isn't masturbating. But you know what? That is something people do. And if that is the case, then we need to respect those around him, but just say, "Mr. Smith, why don't you come with me? I'm going to have you go back where you have some privacy." Okay? Handle it. Don't shame them. Don't make a big to-do about it. Don't embarrass them. They still can be embarrassed, okay? So let's treat them with some respect, that they're just trying to handle whatever's going on in their head in the best way they can, and how can you support that? They may just need to go to the restroom. Maybe just say, "Mr. Smith, why don't you come with me? I'm going to take you down to the restroom," okay? But don't make a big deal about it around everybody else that's there. Let's see, what else here do we have? We actually had, this is a very open conversation here, okay? Because in the world that I worked in, we had to be there to support each individual in their world. So you have to come up with solutions to support each person. I had one resident who lived in one of our communities who her entire life, her family said she had been a very sexual being. That was a part of her life. And so for her coming to live in a community setting, that was still her, right? So where is she supposed to live? Some people will say, well, not in my world, but there are people out there who would say, well, she can't live here if she's going to be doing that. Where is she supposed to live? Let's try to figure out a way for her to be successful. So the family actually brought in a vibrator, and she knew to come to staff, and she would ask them if she could have batteries. Some of you may be saying, "Oh my gosh, I could never do that." But think about it, for her world, for her still to be her, that's what it took. And she was okay with that. And it helped the other people who were living in the community live their lives. So you really have to be very creative in how you handle solutions to these things. But again, and I'll say this a couple more times, please don't shame them. They're doing the best that they can in their situation. Another hint that we've used and we've tried, works for some people, doesn't for others. But if they have always had, if they were married to their spouse 55 years and now they don't have that spouse, maybe they passed away, maybe they're living someplace else, get a body pillow, because there is something about just that snuggle factor. Okay, so consider that. Look and see if that's maybe something that they need to help fulfill just that comfort level for them. Also, we need to ask ourselves, what are we doing to maybe encourage this? Everything that we do in our world and in their world acts as a prompt or a cue, okay? So whatever we do, we have to ask ourselves, how might they be interpreting that? So if I'm not right now, but if I were wearing a shirt that was kind of a loose shirt, and I bend over and you can see down my shirt, I didn't mean to do anything by that. I wasn't purposely trying to do that. But if I'm bending over and I have my breasts somewhat exposed, eyes can be drawn to that, right? And if you don't have that filter to say, no, this isn't appropriate, oh, that's interesting, and there's a grab, okay? It's really not their fault, right? We have to watch what we do in their world. They can no longer control that, but we can help support them with that. Another story, I had a nurse that I worked with had a gentleman that every time she would take him in to go get a shower, she'd say, let's go to the shower. And he immediately became very grabby to her. But she handled it very appropriately and just very calmly talked to his wife, who didn't live there. She was living at home, and said, can I get your advice? When we try to take him in for a shower, this occurs, and do you have some advice on how to maybe assist with that? And the wife started laughing, and she said, well, we had, I think, 8 or 10 kids, something like that. And the only time they had for intimacy in their home was in the shower. So for him saying, let's go take a shower, right? How is he going to be interpreting that? Yay, this is time for intimacy. So that nurse's language was the trigger for him. So after that, she changed her approach. She changed her words that she used. She would say, hey, Bob, why don't we go get cleaned up before dinner? And it really changed matters. Another thing in showering or grabbing and reaching, oftentimes the hands want to grab anything, right? And if we are there, they may grab us. Give him something to hold. If he's in the shower, give him a washcloth. Soap it up. Ask him to wash himself, right? If there's a trigger there. You really just have to try different things and be creative within their world. Step into their world. Let's see, jumping in the shower. So watch your language. It's time to jump into bed. Let's get into bed. Well, what does that really mean? You're not saying let's get up into bed. You're not meaning let's get in bed, but you said it. So if that's the way they're interpreting and they're doing the best they can, they're listening to those words. Okay, I know what those words mean. So watch your language, watch your posture, watch how we're standing, and watch your approach. And if you are working in a community setting, talk with the families. Just don't try to make it a big deal. Just say, we have some questions for you. This action has happened, and we're trying to figure out how we can support him or her with that. So no shaming. It's so important. Don't shame them. And don't overreact. Don't make a big deal about it. We need to problem solve. We need to be wildly curious, as my friend Yvette would say. And remember that they're responding to instincts and that they are still a human with a need for intimacy. So I hope this is helpful. If you need more ideas, you know where to get me. I hope you have a great day, and bless everyone. Hope you're staying safe and have a happy holiday. Bye-bye.